In a previous video, we discussed some of the coolest secondary signature monsters of the main characters in the various Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. These are the monsters that usually act as a backup to the ace monsters who are almost or just as prominent. When Dark Magician or Stardust Dragon aren't around, we can still rely on the likes of Dark Magician Girl or Junk Warrior to save the day. But since we only originally looked at the top 10 secondary aces belonging to the protagonist, best friend, and main rival of the first 6 Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, that means we only covered 10 of 18 potential characters, not to mention the series that have a few other notable duelists, giving us enough options for a follow-up list. Same rules as the last video. We'll personally determine who fits the best as the secondary ace for each character we discuss, and talk about some other potential monsters that could work if applicable. And I'll be joined by my co-host Brigade again, being Corgian.
What, you don't like Dino DNA?
Sam from the Dungeon Dive Bar podcast.
We do not talk about Dragoon!
Professor Oates.
I'm talking.
Syzygy Solo.
I like rank 10 trains.
And Judgment Meter.
Is this video going to be about the anime or the card game? Because I really don't know anything about the card game.
It's mostly going to be anime talk again.
Oh, thank God.
Now, let's tag in the top 10 secondary signature monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Volume 2. Number 10, Red Nova Dragon with Jack Atlas. Jack loves his Red Dragon Archfiend, his signature monster. So much so that his secondary ace is just more of that. Red Nova Dragon is essentially the evolved Red Dragon Archfiend alongside those other evolved forms that actually have Archfiend in their names. But this one requires Jack to go through a test with a flame guy to obtain it, and is part Earthbound Immortal to remind us of that plotline. It's got a whole bunch of over-the-top big boss monster stuff to show its power, like needing 2 tuners instead of the standard 1 to synchro summon it, having full destruction prevention, 3,500 attack points that just gets bigger the more tuners you have in your graveyard, and it can negate attacks by banishing itself. It was also the first level 12 synchro monster introduced, both in the anime and the real life card game, showing that it was the end-all be-all for Jack at the time. 12 is the highest level a monster can be on default, minus other shenanigans taking place, so at the very least, it's got that big number factor going on. Once he got Red Nova Dragon in the middle of that final tournament arc, he used it in all his major duels onwards. Red Dragon Archfiend was still his initial go-to for these duels, but if he needed some extra firepower, he got a couple of tuners on the field, and bada bing, you got yourself a new dragon. It's funny that before getting Red Nova Dragon, Jack didn't really have any secondary synchro monsters or other big extra deck monsters compared to Yusei and Crow. Yusei had the Stardust Dragons and all the different warrior synchros, and Crow had Armor Master and the rest of the Blackwing synchros. But Jack, I don't know.
Jack's an interesting case because he refused to ever use anything but Red Dragon Archfiend until he got more powerful versions of it. He does have multiple piece Golem, but he also has Exploder Dragon Wing, which is an incredibly good synchro when it came out. And then he later gets Crimson Blader, which is, oh, you wanted to summon? No. Fall off your horse. Fall off your bike.
Bike horse.
You can't summon anything level 5 or higher. There is actually a bike horse in the manga. An ancient Incan knight uses it.
It's funny because, like, those cards are Exploder Dragon Wing, Dragon, Crimson Blader, Red, has pieces of the Red Dragon Archfiend in there, but, like, no, Big Rock.
Actually, he did have Chaos King Archfiend, so he did complete the trifecta of Red Dragon Archfiend's name with his synchro monsters, but still, I thought the golems were pretty hype.
Doesn't Professor Crowler have that?
That's Ancient Gear Golem!
Same thing, Big Rock.
Look, he's Angelo!
He does get punched into oblivion regularly.
Yeah.
I summon big piece golem and medium piece golem, which allows me to summon small piece golem, which allows me to summon diagonal golem, which allows me to summon mine ass. Well now, you say.
I'm so mad that they did not support the Golem series further, because I would have loved to see like a...
I'm so mad they didn't support mine ass.
Well, get orthotics.
Number 9, Super Viacroid Jumbo Drill with Cyrus. Cyrus is a weird one, since he doesn't really duel. He has the best friend role in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, so he's in contention for this list, but if you look at his history of dueling, there's not much there. They front-loaded his duels in the first season with the tag duel, and then dropped him once the Shadow Riders came into the picture, not even getting a key given to the important characters. Second season was probably his best, getting his promotion duel, the duel against Hasselberry, the tag duel against Sartorius' goons, and the duel against his brother Zane. Then he had no duels in Season 3, but was active in the Dark World, and finally, he got a great send-off duel as many characters did in Season 4. The consistent theme of his deck was he played the Vehicroids, being vehicle monsters with cartoon faces friendly for all ages, but he never had an end-all be-all ace that he used all the time, and with only 7 major duels, there wasn't much of a sample size. For the sake of finding a secondary ace, I'd say his primary ace is Drillroid, since he brought it out in a major duel to save the day, and he consistently used it after that. You could also argue Gyroid, since he's in the theme song alongside Cyrus, or Steam Gyroid, since he says that's his favorite card, and that's the only fusion monster he brought out more than once, but I like Drillroid. Because of that, of his various fusions, Jumbo Drillroid fits as the secondary ace, being the fusion of Drillroid, Steamroid, and Submarineroid. Original Drillroid is pretty much a better card since it can destroy any defense position monster, while this is just a big guy with piercing, which is why it's only number 2 to small Drillroid. He only uses this fusion once, but it fits about as often as he used his other fusions, like Ambulance Rescue-roid, UFO-roid Fighter, Parapsychroid, or that Gundam, so it was a toss-up on what to pick. Plus, this monster got a summoning cutscene in Duel Links, so I'll let that break the tie. It looks like he's gritting his teeth. Ooh, he's so angry.
I can't.
Come on, Judgment Meters, say something nice about Jumbo Drillroid.
I like that it's pink.
What about his little hands? What about his mole hands?
I like that he has claws, despite the fact that he does not need to dig with his hands.
Baby.
Wait, he's got secondary digging implement? Oh, I like this dude.
Why does he have the radar thing of a submarineroid? That seems kind of useless.
Because Submarine Roid's one of his fusion materials.
No, I got that, but why is it there?
For when you're underground.
And the claws come from Moleroid.
Neospatian Grandroid.
Though there was one other direction we could have gone with Cyrus's secondary ace.
Cyrus's secondary ace monster, Cyber Dragon. Boom, mic drop.
I think that Cyrus has 2 possible ace monsters. Number 1 is his girlfriend, who is Dark Magician Girl. She has managed to support him throughout the entirety of the series, and they are madly in love with each other. If that isn't a second hand, I don't know what is, because the first hand is busy. Secondly, his ace monster, if it's not that, is Power Bond, because it was given to him by his brother. It's a spell, but...
So was Cyber Dragon.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cyber Dragon too. While Cyrus only used Cyber Dragon and its related cards once, it's implied that he was going to have it as a secondary archetype as he moves on after the series. Makes sense. Cyrus uses the archetype he inherited from his brother Zane, who famously was the top student at Duel Academy, fell into a losing streak, and then apparently could only get his edge back by getting into electroshock dueling where you get shocked as you lose life points and turn into a bad boy. But then the electroshock dueling gave him ambiguous heart disease and he couldn't duel anymore. It was such a weird turn of events that was played off straight.
That's fair. You know what? I do like Cyber Dragon is.
No, he stole Cyber Dragon.
He didn't steal it. It was given to him with permission from his brother, who was dying of heart attack cancer.
You're right, he was dying of heart attack cancer.
Self-inflicted heart attack cancer. So I would like if you took back the fact that he stole that right now, Sam.
But that's his Joey parallel.
He was fine in the end, sort of. It looked like he died at the end of Season 3, and then in Season 4 they were like, nope, don't worry, he just fell over. Number 8. Trickstar Lycoris with Blue Angel. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, the character Soulburner essentially is in the best friend role, but he doesn't show up until the second season. So with some spots up for grabs on this list, we wanted to give an entry to the character in the friend role from the first season, Blue Angel. Well, it was kind of a toss-up, since the Goki user Go could also be in that role for Season 1. But I simply like Blue Angel more, and Corgian plays her archetype in real life, so we made those the deciding factors. Her first and main archetype is Trickstars, being a bunch of magical girls based around her motif, or or maybe her motif is based around them. Either way, her signature monster is the Link monster, Trickstar Holly Angel, with the other Trickstars supporting her from the main deck. Of the main deck Trickstars, Lycoris always stood out as the main support card, so she felt like the secondary ace, being the monster who either gets things going or helps Holly Angel bring the pain even more. We could have also gone with one of the ace monsters from her other deck, Marincess, as her secondary ace, but we stuck with the Trickstar line since that was her more prominent deck. Yay for Lycoris!
I am so happy that we're doing this episode considering other than Orcists, I only play anime decks, and Trickstars is one of my favorites. And Trickstar Lycoris, or as I call her Licorice, is the most obnoxious card that you could possibly use. Actually, Mr. Top 10 List, if you wanted to, you could actually do the Max C video that I put up. But Lycoris says that if a card is added to your hand, take burn damage. And then another Trickstar card, which is Trickstar Light Stage, says if you take damage from a Trickstar monster, take damage. And it's really funny to me. All of Blue Angel's cards are super obnoxious, trolly, beautiful cards. I love every Trickstar card because every time that she uses them, they're so freaking obnoxious. It's incredible because the entire internet loves her as this trolly, horrible gamer woman. And I think that she is what every VTuber should aspire to be, what every gamer should aspire to be. I think she's what every human should aspire to be. She is the toxicity of Yu-Gi-Oh! Distilled into a incredible character known as Blue Angel. I love everything that Trickstars do.
I like that she's red.
It looks like a magical girl.
It is a magical girl.
Number 7, Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon with Kaito. Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, or Zale, is all about Xyz summoning, so the rival character Kaito has an ace monster that counters that, with Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, who can banish itself and your opponent's monster until the end of the turn, and if they did that against an Xyz monster, not only does it remove the monsters overlaid under them, but the dragon gains 500 attack points for each monster that was overlaid, so it's a fun anti-Xyz strategy. For the first quarter of the series, Kaito would only Xyz summon if it was a number monster, being the gotta catch 'em all monsters that certain groups in the series were after for power, but once we reached that tournament arc, Kaito needed something more from his Galaxy and Photon archetypes, so in comes his primary Xyz monster and his secondary ace monster overall, Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. It's just more Photon Dragon for him. He's like Jack. He knows his first dragon works, so he does that again. It's got a good effect, where it negates all other monster effects on the field if the original Photon Dragon was used as a material to summon it, and if you detach all of its materials, it gains 500 attack points for each monster your opponent controls, and gets an extra attack per monster they have. So it's got a nice payoff for needing 3 level 8 monsters to bring it out. Since it's the anime, it's not hard for Kaito to summon it consistently, making it his go-to after the classic dragon.
So Kaito's job is to hunt the numbers because he hates math. So when he starts fighting more math and the math starts winning, he says, I'm going to summon a monster from the other side of a black hole and it's going to eat your numbers and give me bigger numbers. And that's when New Galaxy has Photon Dragon gains attack.
Photon Dragon got some more Xyz upgrades later on, but this was the first and as a result, most shown monster that wasn't the original dragon for Kaito. It's funny how early in the series, they tried giving Kaito different types of secondary monsters that just didn't stick. Like he had a ritual and fusion photon monster, and he just uses them once in random duels throughout the series because he prefers the dragons to be used more. Though I don't know anyone who actually liked those monsters.
Twin Photon Lizard!
We have a fan.
Photon this, photon that. How about you talk to some girls?
Number 6, Solomon Great Pyro Phoenix with Soul Burner, aka Takeru, aka Theodore. Soul Burner fits the role reveal of the friend character starting in the second season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. He's the underdog with a heart of gold and fire, playing with the Solomon Great archetype, being a bunch of cybernetic animals on fire. While the little guys from the main deck are very important for the archetype, the Link monsters are the main event. The Link 3 Solomon Great Heatleo was definitely his signature monster, getting brought out in all of his duels, but he's another case where he has a bigger boss monster waiting in the wings that only gets brought out on special occasions, and you wonder why he didn't use it more often, being Solomon Great Pyro Phoenix. It's a good card, is one Link grade higher than Heatleo to show it's a step up on paper, and he even uses the Ace Heatleo as material when he's first summoned. So I wonder why Soulburner never tried to make this guy his primary ace.
So my favorite thing is Link 4 in the anime was supposed to be like the ace monster, your big summon, your hullabaloo. And except for Varus, they were only shown once or twice, and they usually didn't work because of tropes in ascending order of villainy. Theodore as the Joey of the group always got paired up against a major antagonist to show how much more powerful that antagonist is for Yusaku to duel. So when he summoned Pyro Phoenix to duel like the number 3 of the villain organization and won with it, he did it again against the number 2 of the organization and he got his butt kicked. Plus, he never summons it outside of those 2 duels and relies entirely on Heatleo, who actually is a good monster.
I just like him because he's pointy.
He is very pointy. He looks like a Power Ranger, honestly.
He's so pointy, he can destroy all cards your opponent controls.
He's as pointy as all of his Link arrows.
Are the arrows important?
Yes, the arrows are very important.
I've shown you how to Link summon. I even did a Twitch stream about it. Don't you remember?
Vaguely.
Okay, what if you had to save me in a Shadow Game duel and all you had to do was Link summon once? Then would you remember? It could even just be Solomon Great Bay Links to make it real easy.
You did it. You successfully killed Mr. Congratulations on the new channel, Justin Meter. You are now the owner of Mr. Top 10 List.
No, I'm still here. Number 5, Cyber Tutu with Alexis. Alexis definitely deserved a spot on this list. She sort of takes the best friend role alongside Cyrus, being the other main character that's by Jaden's side all 4 seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. She dueled more than Cyrus, had more variety, and even appeared in more than one series. The main hard part was pinning down her secondary ace in the anime. For her ace, I'd say it's Cyber Angel Benten. Alexis was the only duelist to specialize in ritual summoning, which makes her immediately stand out, and Benten was her general go-to from her Cyber Angel ritual archetype, and it was sort of a parallel to Flame Wingman, being Jaden's initial ace before it was downgraded after Neos came into the picture, where Benten inflicts damage equal to a monster's defense points that it destroys, while Wingman does the same but with attack. Though most people don't know Benten as a card that you actually summon in real life, they just know her as that card that you tribute with Drytrons and other rituals in the modern card game to get its search effect. As for her secondary, my initial thought was her main fusion monster, Cyber Blader, but Mandela Effect really kicked in here since she only used this boss-like monster in the first season. I thought it was a staple of hers, they even gave it a cutscene in Duel Links. My guess is, with GX being the fusion-focused series, they gave everyone fusion monsters when they were introduced, but realized variety is the spice of life and made Alexis more ritual-focused. That being said, Cyber Tutu should be her secondary. She summons it a lot, it goes with her ballet theme, it lets her attack directly when the opponent's monsters have more attack points than her. Direct attacks were devastating in the anime at this point, so it's a solid effect. Tutu was a reliable option when Alexis had to gather resources to get out her signature Cyber Angels.
Actually, there is a specific monster that I have in mind for being her secondary ace, because she had a specific support spell just for it, and that's Cyber Prima. That she had a specific spell card, Prima Light, which is send a Cyber Tutu to the grave, special summon a Cyber Prima, and sometimes it allows Cyber Prima's effect to activate.
Since Cyber Tutu is needed to summon Prima with that card, I think we could consider them the same card in spirit. Cyber Prima does have that sub-boss feel.
Oh, is this the one with the mask and like the...
Yeah.
Oh, this is the one with the masquerade mask. That was cool. I like the additional stuff. She was like a hula hooper ballet girl. girl. And she's like, yeah, I'm at a party.
And her effect of destroying face-up spell cards.
I love destroying spells at parties.
It was a fun party. I'm a party girl.
So can I rant about Alexis really quick? Because you know I got it. Okay, so I've got beef with Alexis. This might just be because I played Duel Links and I played Cyber Angels. I was having a good time and I'm like, these cards are really cool and powerful. Whoa, they're from GX? That's amazing. That's so forward thinking. Cool ritual archetype. Who plays them? Alexis? Awesome. Let's watch the anime. And I swear she doesn't activate a single Cyber Angel effect. She summons Benton sometimes as the boss monster, but that's like one of the middle monsters. Dakini's got like big attack, big stats. I don't think I ever remember her using the ritual spells and then Cyber Blade. Like just a mess of a character.
I definitely remember she activated Benton's effect, but they overall didn't explore the effects too much in GX.
Here's why, Oates. Because the Alexis you're thinking of is not the Alexis from GX. An alternate counterpart of Alexis appears in Arc 5 who uses a ritual archetype to specifically oppose the fusion dimension. Because she's a wanted war criminal.
So Arc 5 Alexis actually uses her archetype?
Yes.
Oh, well I guess I have to watch that series then.
You do not.
Okay.
Number 4, Black Ray Lancer with Shark. Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal felt like it had two rivals, with Shark being the other rival of the main character, Yuma. He became a reluctant friend by the end of the first season, so he's kind of in that best friend role, except the part of the series where some ancient space magic awakened inside of him, so Shark and Kaito sort of switch roles there. But in the end, Shark is the third most prominent character in Zexal, so he earns a spot. Also, Tetsuo, or Bronk as he's known in the dub, is technically Yuma's real best friend, but he doesn't duel as much as Shark, so there's not a good sample size to give him an entry. Shoutouts to Tin Archduke fans though. Shark obtained a few number cards during the series, which switched on and off as his signature monster. First it was Leviathan Dragon, then it was Shark Drake, and then it was Honor Arc and its upgraded forms, though I would say Shark Drake was his de facto ace, but the one consistent Xyz monster in his deck that didn't care about which number monster was the flavor of the month was Black Ray Lancer. If he didn't have a number monster around, or one was waiting in the wings, Black Ray Lancer would be a solid go-to for him. He does his job. His effect negates another monster's effect on the field until the end of the turn, so it comes in useful. Not a meta-defining threat, but for the pace of anime duels, it's good. In a series where the number monsters are a big deal, Lancer quietly stuck around, even appearing in most of the openings and endings in Japanese. The main weird thing about him is his typing. Like thematically, it makes sense, being based on a manta ray and specifically needing water monsters to summon it from this water duelist's deck. But why is it a dark beast warrior? It makes no sense why it has this type attribute combo that has no synergy with the other fish and water support in Shark's deck. His other cards are sharks, his Xyz monsters are sharks, his nickname is Shark. Why doesn't Black Ray Lancer relate to sharks?
His interests, shark. His playstyle, shark.
His blood type, shark.
His hopes, shark. His dreams, shark.
You ever have that shark you thought you'd shark?
I'm just saying, Shark and Ray monsters are usually water fish types, so this type attribute combo works against the deck. How is this a beast warrior and not a fish? They salvage him a bit by giving him a full armor form that's at least water attribute, but it still confuses me why he isn't officially a fish, and you can call that a pun.
He's a guy who got rejected from Tri-Brigade, so he ran under the sea.
See, if you showed that to me and said, this is a sea serpent, I'd be like, yeah, I could see it. But they said beast warrior because of course they would.
If he wasn't so useful in the anime, we may have given this spot instead to that Xyz monster that's just two sharks tied to an airplane. Oh, the things we treat seriously in Yu-Gi-Oh! Number 3, Topologic Bomber Dragon with Revolver, also known as Varus in the dub. Revolver is the rival of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, and he makes it easy to determine who his number 1 and 2 guys are if you go by archetype. His main guy is Borreload Dragon, leading to the other Borreload Dragons to act as special evolutions that he would bring out when he wants to give the dragon some extra effects, like Savage or Sword Dragon. But when he wasn't feeling the Boral Dragons, he had some other dragons to link summon instead, being the Topologics, and it was headlined with the most used of that series of monsters, Topologic Bomber Dragon. This dragon was still a big deal when it first appeared in the anime, being the special card that Revolver received in his first duel against the protagonist Playmaker, so maybe there were bigger plans for it, but Topologic Bomber Dragon ultimately was the backup after Borreload Dragon.
So I think that Topologic Bomber Dragon's really kind of stupid because he goes against his own name. So when you have have a network topology, everything's kind of connected. But when you have topologic Bomber Dragon, as soon as you try to connect something, it destroys everything. So you can't make a topology after he bombs. He's just kind of there.
Syzygy, did you just make an intelligent comment?
IT is my major. It is the only thing I know.
I'm proud of you.
But it is connected to itself. The tail is a Mobius strip, and he's got cool little green glowy eyes. I think he's cute.
Eye. It's singular eye. He's got one eye. He's a Cyclops.
Orb. He has an orb.
Yep, there's his Konami orb.
It looks to me like, the spike on the top of his head? It looks like on the other side of that might be the fragment of the second eye. I think it's just obscured. I think it's got 2 eyeballs.
You want to body shame Topologic. You body shame Topologic Gumbler Dragon.
I like the name Gumbler. I know literally no other details.
He's banned. That's all you need to know.
They banned him because he was too gumbly.
Number 2, Armed Dragon level 7 with Chaz. Chaz, aka Manjome, aka Manjome Thunder, aka Chaz it up, Chaz it up, Chaz it up, is the main rival in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and he plays a lot of archetypes. However, he makes it easy to determine who's his number 1 and 2. His ace monster is technically Ojama Yellow, a polarizing dual spirit who annoys Chaz, but contrasts Chaz's tough guy persona by being blissfully goofy enough to make him a better person in the end, sometimes getting annoyed when he has to use the Ojamas, but other times coming up with neat strategies for them.
I love Chaz. I am so in his club.
Same.
In Chaz's send-off duel in Season 4, he straight up tells Ojama Yellow that he's the ace of the deck because wholesome, and by extension, you could consider the other Ojama brothers and Ojama King as a tie for the ace. This leaves Chaz's other major archetype as the secondary ace of the deck, being the Armed Dragons. This was from the short-lived level up mechanic, where monsters would have levels in their names with mechanics that allow you to special summon their upgraded forms to emulate you upgrading or evolving them. Chaz liked to bring out Armed Dragon level 7 when he needed a more intimidating boss monster, or he could close out a duel with power. It could also board wipe your opponent's monsters when you discard a monster with high attack, so it had a boss monster effect. Sometimes the weaker Armed Dragons also put in work, and he had level 10 if he really needed to go further beyond, but level 7 was generally his stopping point. Level 7's role as the secondary ace is even immortalized on a card with Chaz's third signature archetype, the XYZ Union Machines, with Armed Dragon Catapult Cannon specifically needing level 7 to summon it. Chaz was fond of the XYZ Machines, making them a solid backup that he used at random points in the series, and I mean random. He used them at the beginning of the first season, and then waited until the third season to use them again. Nowhere near as much as the Ojamas or Armed Dragons, but it was fun when he got all the machines combined for VWXYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon, since it goes with his campiness of using over-the-top monsters that just keep getting bigger.
No, I remember. I can't with that.
But it's a fan-favorite archetype.
No, there's too many letters, too many dragons, and just go with the Ojamas. You don't need this facade. Just go with your true heart.
You say too many dragons, but there's just one.
It forms the pelvis. Before we move on from V to Z, can I just say my favorite thing about the art? It's harder to tell when you were a kid, but if you look, the arms are just X-Head Cannon holding Z-Metal Tank's claws, the treads.
So remember when Chaz only used anti-fusion cards or cards with Chthonian in the name? Maybe a secondary is Chthonian. Just the word.
No, because he used those for 2 duels.
And they got more screen time than Silent Swordsman.
They got as much screen time as Silent Swordsman.
Close enough.
It's very hard to give Silent Swordsman screen time because he doesn't say anything.
Do you need to say something to have screen time?
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not known for their miming.
Yes, there is. We had a whole mime episode.
Yeah, was Silent Swordsman there?
No, but Slifer was.
There was no card that really stood out above the rest, so for the top of this list, we went with the secondary ace of the last protagonist standing. Number 1, Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon with Yuya. The plot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 can get convoluted. There's an interdimensional war going on, and the main character meets alternate versions of himself from different dimensions, and we get crossovers with characters from other Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. It's gotten mixed reviews, and I don't like how the manga ended, but the characters are fun. The main character, Yuya, is just a happy guy who wants to be a circus performer themed around dueling, known as Dueltainment in the dub, and the way they named that makes it feel like when Mortal Kombat 2011 referred to a tornado of souls as a Soulnado. His main monster is Odd Eye's Pendulum Dragon, which is fitting since Yuya spearheaded the movement to learn about Performa pendulum summoning at his school. The rest of his deck involves the Performa Pals, a bunch of circus animals and beyond, and the Pendulum Magicians, all of which are prime candidates for his secondary ace. Of the Performa Pals, he loved the hippos and the snake the most. Someone even suggested the snake as his secondary ace for the previous list, considering how many times it saved his ass in the anime. Stargazer and Timegazer Magician also have that secondary ace feel, with how they work with his ace monster, getting bonus effects when Odd Eyes is on the field, and they're magicians, which fits the theme of other protagonists. Despite those monsters being with him since the beginning of the series though, Yuya got another boss monster that he used frequently, and it felt like Endgame when he got it out, Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, which was originally the ace monster of the mysterious duelist Yuto, who is from the Xyz dimension, where they only Xyz summon. Each summoning method gets its own dimension in this anime. However, it turns out Yuto was actually just Yuya from that dimension, and they were counterparts all along. And then Yuto gifts him the Dark Dragon as he's dying, since Yuya was the only hope to save the universes.
The whole plot is Yuya needed to get the 4 dragons, and Yuto was like, I'm dying, take my card. And he went, sweet, free card. I have no idea how to Xyz summon. And then Yuya gets taken over by Super Satan and learns how to Xyz summon, and that's it. Also, the first time he summons Dark Rebellion, it's one of the funniest duels. It's supposed to be treated super seriously, but it's clear that no one knows how to play the game because the guy who he's dueling tries to stop him with an anti-level monster and doesn't realize ranks and levels are not the same thing, because when Yuya says, this monster has a rank, his response is, doesn't that mean its level is 0? No.
Well, if you're not from the Xyz dimension and you've never seen an Xyz monster, I'd make that mistake.
It's actually because Arc 5 Kaiba privatized extra deck summons. You had to go to, what's the stupid company? Leo Corporation, I think.
So, like, this one guy's out of his element, and he's like, rank, huh? I want to do a level thing. Does that work?
They're in the standard dimension with access to all the extra deck methods. It's just they've been privatized by schools. And if you don't go to Fusion School, you don't get Fusion monsters. If you don't go to Synchro School, you don't get Synchro monsters. If you don't go to Xyz School, you don't get Xyz monsters, and you don't get to learn about them.
If you don't go to culinary school, you don't eat.
Anyway, the dragon's got a nice effect, where you detach 2 materials from it, target a monster your opponent controls, cut its attack in half, and then the dragon gains the attack that monster just lost. Yuya obtains some other powerful extra deck monsters from his counterparts during his journey, but the Rebellion Dragon was the first he got and the most used. There may have been twists and turns in the story, but Yuya could always rely on his dragon and his other dragon, and his 3rd and 4th dragons, making the Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon the best secondary signature monster this time around. Now, what did you think? Did all these monsters deserve the silver medal, or would bronze have suited them better, or even gold? Who are your favorite signature aces in the anime, whether we discussed them or not? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.